TikTok versus live on Facebook. I got super anxiety and agoraphobia. I'm afraid of a lot of people and a lot of things. Growing up in the system, I had my own difficulties growing up, but I'd like to give you a little backstory on the video that went viral over the weekend, last weekend. And bear with me, my anxiety is through the roof right now. But I feel like the comments and the good, the bad, it all helps me learn something. But I figured everyone deserves an explanation. So last weekend, or no, in last summer, June of last summer, I started the worst crisis of my whole life. Let's go back 4 years. So 4 years ago, I left Washington, Vancouver, Washington. And I did all my research. My oldest daughter, was out of control. She had mental health issues. She wanted to die. She heard voices. There's a lot of things going on, and there's no help for children in her position. And I know a lot of parents go through the same thing. So I did my research in the United States, and I searched from everywhere from here to New York. Lots of programs I learned about, and but the best was in Detroit. They have a lot of programs for troubled adults and troubled children. I do not admit that I'm perfect. I have issues and I need help with them and I want help with them, but unfortunately the help is not there. Like in Vancouver, Washington right now, there is not any mental health place that you can go right now to get help. They're not even accepting new patients because that's how full they are and that's the lack of resources they have. So 4 years ago, I found out in Detroit they have a lot of help. Before I went to Detroit, I did call CPS. After winning my second case, my daughter was still out of control. The cops wouldn't help. My friends and family all walked away. It was just me and the children. And so when everybody walked away, I finally called CPS, and I was like, what do I do? And they're like, well, if you drop her off at a group home, then it's abandonment. So I dealt with it. My daughter deserves more than that, and I fell through the cracks. So I'm not going to let my daughter fall through the cracks. I love her more than that. So, I packed up my family and I left. And so, when I was headed to Detroit, but people knew that, and I was scared that when I left, people would lose control, and they called CPS, which I have the factual proof that they did. So we went to San Diego. While in San Diego, we got into a homeless shelter, and their dad randomly showed up. Now, their dad never helped with CPS or anything like that, but at this point, in San Diego, my daughter had SWAT surround us, and luckily they let us go, but I couldn't drive cross country with her, and so their dad came and picked up the girls. He was supposed to keep them for 2 weeks while I went to Detroit and got settled in. That never happened. When he got back to Washington with the children, they were immediately taken. I fought in Michigan for the last 4 years. I've been on UAs, I've done a neuropsych, I've done everything. The problem with CPS is I've done everything they can offer. I'm just not fixable, apparently. So, but see, in Detroit, for 4 years, Washington State called Michigan CPS to come take my kid 6 times, and it never worked. The teachers in the school and everybody would say that I was a great mom. I'm not the best mom, but I took all the knowledge I learned, and I knew that if I just got out of my hometown, I'd have another chance at my family, and I did. So last June, I was winning. I had a settlement coming in from Social Security. I'm disabled. I have something called autonomic dysfunction of the nervous system, chondromalacia, patella pain disorder. I have arthritis. I have sleep apnea and respiratory failure and COPD. I have a lot of stuff going on. So I had a settlement coming in, and I was buying a house. So I was winning my third case. My girls were coming home, and I was never coming back to Washington again. I fear Washington because I fear they are after my children, and I can prove it, and that's why I posted that video. I didn't post that video for likes or for sob stories or none of that. Like, it is awareness. I have done this over and over and over, and this time I did everything right. So June 28th, I come to Vancouver, Washington, and everything started to fall apart. The place I was going to stay at fell apart. I don't like Washington. It's a lot of toxic people from my past that I don't like to associate with. I don't want to run back to that. So, I immediately reached out and started going camping. Okay, so July 7th, I had a 2-bedroom house in Detroit, Michigan, and two-bedroom house with an attic and a full front yard and backyard right next to Beaverland Farms, $550 a month. I loved my house, and I had moved everything from Washington over there. I mean, I was set. I was not ever coming back, and neither were my kids. But anyways, July 7th, my house was robbed. I seen it on my home camera. And then I called Professional Movers, Wanderlust Movers, and I paid them $500 to go move my stuff, and they had their way with my stuff, too. I lost everything over there, and squatters were in my home, so I made the conscious decision to stay in Vancouver, Washington. I reached out to the community. I got a pop-up camper because I do have an income. I got everything that me and my kids needed. Everything. But I did not tell CPS that I was staying. I did not tell them where I was previously for my girls, because I knew that the second they found out, they would take my son, which, ironically, they did. So, while I was there, I was just parked wherever, because I don't have resources in Washington like that anymore, and I don't want the resources. I don't want to be here. So, I was parked on the side of the road with my pop-up camper, and I was offered to go to this place called Safe Park. Safe Park is not very safe. I seen people, all these outreach programs for homeless, and you know, every time you sign up a homeless person onto your outreach, they get paid. Just like at school for the children, they get paid for attendance, they get paid for their food, they get paid for special needs. It's all about money, okay? So, but I'm seeing people die of thirst and no resources and no help, and there's no funding, or there's no this and there's no that. And I'm like, so I started doing my research, and I'm like, well, there's millions of dollars coming in from the government and from the states and taxes and all this. I mean, where's it going? And then you go to Council for the Homeless, and it says Safe Park Homeless. Well, I have a personal email, if anybody like it, from the state of Chamber of Commerce, United States of America, saying that that is not for the homeless. It is run by the city, and if I have any issues, I need to talk to the city of Vancouver. Well, that's alarming, but I didn't know that until after I left. So while I was there, I'm very aware about myself and my mental health issues and triggers and stuff like that. And so while I was there, a man named Dale kept threatening me. And it's petty, okay? He was threatening me, I'm going to write you up. And I kept telling him, if you're going to write me up, write me up. Okay, just write me up. Stop threatening me. I've been in DV situations before, and I was very respectful. I said, please, you know, I've been in DV. Every time you threaten me, it's like a trigger to me. And I said, and for my son. And so could you just write me up if you're going to write me up over my son not wearing a shirt in 100-degree weather? Okay, it is what it is. Again, no resources, no water, no sewer, no AC, no nothing. And my generators, I kept buying them. Now, mind you, limited income, and I have to do everything for my son. Kept getting sabotaged. Police reports for those as well, and witnesses. So, the day, September 11th, I called, I'll give you more backstory on the rest of the stuff for another day, but, September 11th or 12th, September 12th, I called the police for harassment and abuse against me and my son from a man named Dale. 20 minutes later, there was a knock on the door, and it was the police, and that's when I went live and made that video, the first video of them telling me I was a liability, and I said, are you hear about the harassment and abuse I just called? And they said, well, they don't know nothing about it. Well, they do, because I kept bringing it up, and I just called the police about it, well, and for my follow-up on my generator. Second generator that was broken. And I also have videos posted of security guards working with the man named Dale that was harassing us, going into campers and following me. I started recording it because the man at Heart, Homeless Assistance Resource Team, because I worked my way up the ladder, said there's no proof. And so I started taking videos. So to show that there was proof that this was really happening. So, excuse me when I freaked out when I called the police for harassment and abuse against me and my son, yet, it was, the police came to kick me out. I was already leaving. Look at my page on Operation Can You See Us on Facebook. I was already leaving. They already knew I was leaving. They didn't have to come kick me out. That was another triggering situation. Why did I go live? Because I didn't feel safe. I don't feel safe around the police and the way they have treated me and other people, and what I see the homeless advocates doing to these people. And I had everything I needed, and I started reaching out to the community. I have a paper that was made because I was going to match somebody $10,000 to open up a 3-year program with interstate people, even people from Detroit, like businesses that were willing to get involved for any nonprofit that wanted to sign them to end this. Like, I didn't need that help. By the time I left, they made sure I had nothing left. So my house being robbed, squatters in Detroit, I'm here battling this. That day I left with another lady that's got a really fat mouth that has problems with injustices and stuff like that in Clark County. And she sticks up for it. She lives in La Center. That's the house I was at. I was there, and then I was waiting for an $11,000 check that I finally got in October, so like a month after they took my kid, to get back to Detroit. And I was in the pop-up camper, and I was on my way down to Lapine, Oregon, where I had friends where I was going to stay until I got the money to go back to Detroit. And I was on the phone all day with NAMI. Now, mind you, when they kicked me out, they also, kicked out my friend Heather and her 2 children under the age of 10. And they also kicked out every single person that talked to me and was organizing with me on this business. Then, after this fat meth lady, I forgot her name, she's super cool Karen. But she got in their face, and so everyone else got to stay except for me and Heather. So, mind you, in that video, when my son's being taken, there is another woman with 2 children under the age of 10 in that camper that they don't give a fuck about. Okay? Lots of issues with that situation, but she finally came out at the end. The rest of this video also shows me getting arrested, them assaulting me, them strangling my son. Unfortunately, that video is in the arms of another abuser down in California, but not mine. It happens to do with my friend that was in the camper. So, I was on the phone all day with NAMI. I woke up to charged phones, and my friend Karen, I'm just going to call her Karen for right now, brought us eggs and French toast and was feeding us, and I was on my way out. That night, my mom was on her way, and we was headed down there. We was leaving, and 20 minutes after I got off the phone with NAMI, NAMI is for mental health, there's a knock on the door, and it's weird because nobody knew where we were, except for people at Safe Park taking pictures of the license plate. We do know that. And I opened the door, and the cops grabbed me by the wrist, and I told my son to run. Run! I turned around, and there's Josh, my old social worker, who is reassigned and is no longer allowed to take children. That was hell. It was. I was just called for harassment and abuse against me and my son, and here they are to take my son. And let me tell you, the harassment and abuse hasn't stopped. They put my son in an institution. They put me in an institution same day. Or my son was a couple days later. They put him under a fake name, pumped him full of Valium, strapped him to a bed, and didn't pick him up for 5 days. I have the video recordings of that as well. Let me tell you about Washington State is 2-person party consent. So if you take videos, you have to have both persons consent. However, Supreme Court ruling ruled that if you, the person like me, believe that it's abuse or harassment, I have the right to take that video, and then it's up to the judge or the trial jurors if they want to accept it. Okay? So I've had to learn way more than I think I should learn and I should know, because it makes me more fearful. There's a lot of stuff out here you shouldn't learn, especially about Vancouver, Washington. So, when my son, they told me to stay right there on that rug, and I did, and I have every right to voice my opinion and my freedom of speech, and they have to tell me what I did wrong, and I didn't do anything wrong. I was actively in therapy. Actually, Columbia River Mental Health was already on their way to La Center, to La Center to work with me. Outsiders Inn was on their way to La Center at the same time to discuss the next steps and how I was going to move forward, because, yeah, it was mentally challenging. I got sent up near Canada in Seattle and left, and my son is in an institute up in Spokane where he's been. 3 days after he got they took him out of school, they took him out of therapy, and they abused him. The first time I got to see him when he was in the institute, 2 days later, he had a rug burn, he had bruises on his face, and he told me that they rub his face in the carpet, and that they do this and they do that. And then I had the visit supervisor and his lawyer making reports to CPS on CPS like every other day. I mean, it hasn't stopped. This last weekend was overboard. Like, and that's why I posted the video, because win or lose, crazy or not, the bad comments, the good comments, whatever you think, I know it's coming, and that's okay. Because I'm not the only one going through this. There are many others. I thought I was the only one with 3 cases. No, my friend, she had 3 cases, and she won the first one, she lost the second one, and she won the third one. How is that fair to the children or the mother? How do you become a piece of shit overnight? My cases started when my son was 10 years old. Okay, and if you look at that paperwork I posted, factual documents of an incentive-based program that the state gets, the more children take, the more children, the more money they make. And if, listen, all public employees for government is, their salary is posted. Go to Vancouver, Washington, and see how much the secretary at CPS makes, or the city manager, over $100,000 a year. Like, it's ridiculous. Vancouver, Washington got a lot of money. Why do they have so much homeless and no help? Driving people into bushes and killing them and because they have mental health issues? Like, look at the way you treat them. Like, I have 3 calls of harassment against the police for the police harassing me, because it is a thing and it's real, and I have every right, just as you do, to make a report about it. So, you know, I didn't know if TikTok was the place for it, but I have sent thousands of emails. I have learned a lot of things. I have reached out to a lot of people. I was in the process of opening a 3-part business to help the homeless and addiction. I started a group called Operation Can You See Us, because you can't freaking see. You can't see what's going on. You think all your taxes and all this stuff is going to help the homeless. No, it's not. It's going into the pockets, and we're being driven into the bushes. And listen, I wasn't homeless. I wasn't, but I did lose my house to squatters, because then it became condemned. Okay? And the condition they left. And right now, I have to pay $300 for my storage unit of the stuff that I salvaged, because I had to go back in December. And because that's where I live. And it's best for me. Washington is not best. You know, but it's $300 and I can't pay it. I'm about to lose it again. Because now I'm stuck on the West Coast again. I went far enough away, I couldn't come back, and I made it work. I loved my life. For the first time in my life, I loved my life. And then I learned about the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which, when you do your research on that, this is all unalienable rights, but we don't really have rights, I've learned. And if you do have rights, it's only if you become a statistic. I posted that video so my son doesn't become a statistic. Do your research. How many children fall through the cracks? How many children? Oh, there were so many reports made, but and people and this happened, and we investigated and nothing happened. Here's your $40 million for your child's death. We're sorry. Yeah, it happens a lot, and it's fucking sick, and my son's not going to be left in the hands of that. They are legally allowed to abuse my child. He is not out of control. He was not out of control before they took him. We had a good life, and we were on vacation to see my children and win my case and never come back. I was saying goodbye to my family because I'm not coming back. I knew. And regardless if everything falls apart, listen, I don't want your money. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I don't want your sympathy. I want awareness. Awareness brings change. Even if you can't help me, think about yourself. Think about your daily life. Think about the person that's walking down the street. Because you know what? There's a situation like that in Spokane. Sorry, that's my ADHD and my anxiety. But there's a situation in Spokane. I was trying to be at the shelters out there, and they're like flop houses. I can't even do it. I need different stability. But, not in Vancouver. I'm straight in Vancouver. They helped me lose my freaking kid, and they took my kid, and Jamie Spinelli called the police on me. And there's no report of any of this, but this is, apparently what happened. So I'm not trying to be in Vancouver. My son's in Spokane, so I go up there, and I'm at the shelter, and, all day long I'm with CPS in Spokane, trying to get resources up there. A new place, maybe they'll understand, they won't treat me so different. And listen, they had a lot more resources, which is cool. But all day long I'm up there. So then I go get my mental health drugs from the outreach team. Now, mind you, outreach, they can only give you over-the-counter simple things because they don't know you. Okay, I was on Klonopin and Prozac when I was in Detroit, but see, I'm in Washington, so I can't get those meds. So I go pick up the meds that the new outreach team gave me, and mind you, constantly seeking help because my anxiety and my fear is out of control. And at this point, I'm in super-duper crisis. And I pull up to the shelter, and there's cops ticketing, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm feeding my dogs. I'm in my car, and the car's running, and the cop comes, and he puts something on my windshield with me sitting there, and I'm like, what's that? And he goes, well, it's a warning. And I said, a warning for what? He goes, no parking. And I said, I'm not parked. Parking means getting out of your car, turning it off, and getting out. And he goes, oh, you want to be a smart ass, give me a driver's license, I'm going to give you a ticket. What the hell? Dude, I say you ain't giving me a ticket, so I pull up in front of the shelter, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like looking at the staff. I'm like, where did I park? What did I do? I'm not just gonna leave my car. Then I look at the warning. The warning says I've been sitting there for over 24 hours. Like, I can prove I've just pulled up, dude. So I called the cops on that. Motherfucker took my dog bowl. Okay, I don't care who you are. You're a cop. Don't take my dog bowl. Like, I can't even afford another dog bowl, jerk. So yeah, petty. I don't care. Look what they could have got me in trouble for stupid shit that I didn't even do. And does it matter? Yes, it does. Because these little things add up and they really ruin a person's life. It really freaking does. And so I pull up to the shelter, and this guy's like, hey, dude, you want to go hang out? I was like, sure, fuck it, let's go get high, dude. So yeah, at this time I was using it. I was 4 years sober, and after my son was taken, I started using. I was not using before. I was self-medicating with Adderall and marijuana, but I was not on any hard drugs. By this time, my son was taken. I was in a big crisis. I wanted to die, really. I don't see no hope of me getting my son back, and so I was like, fuck it, let's go. Well, this dude ended up taking off with my keys. Took off with my keys, so... So it is illegal to be homeless in Spokane due to the protest, Camp Hope, that they made. And so everybody has to be at Camp Hope, or you can't, they'll just arrest you, or you get in trouble, or get towed, or whatever. Like, a lot of the state laws change in different cities. It's sick. Do your research before you go on vacation. Anyways, so, but it's not illegal to park in a parking spot and pay for it. So I paid for a parking spot overnight, and I'm sleeping in my car. It's so cold, and I have my puppies, and my phone is dying, and all my stuff's at the shelter, and I have no key. And then I start hearing a lady get assaulted. Trigger warning. She screaming, help, no, stop. Another guy comes up, and you hear it, and so I call the police after about 10-15 minutes. I call the police, and I'm whispering because I have no key, and I have no help, and my phone is dying. And the cops ain't listening, and they ain't doing nothing. And so I call, and I'm whispering, and they're like, okay, we found her, da-da-da. So, okay. So I shit you not, like 45 minutes later, like, he came out here, and I don't know what he did, but 45 minutes later, they were closer to my car. And it's the rest of the night louder. That really, the next morning I was ready to die. I didn't see a point. And that's when I really did start using, to remember who I was. It really does. And I don't prefer to be on drugs. I prefer to be on medication, or I prefer to handle it myself. But at this point in time, I wasn't ready to do that. I was in a big crisis, and I was fearful for my son, and I was in a place with no support and no help, and 3,000 miles away from what I call home. I was born and raised in Vancouver, Washington. My whole life, 30 years I was there. And I was in Detroit 3.5, and let me tell you, Detroit will always be home. So, they really just randomly, other than the fact I was told by, the police I was a liability, and my son wasn't listening. I was told by the Washington State Ombudsman that I was a mental institution. That's why they took him. I was told by CPS it was because I was homeless. I wasn't homeless. I didn't live in Washington State. I lived in Detroit, Washington. I lived in Detroit, Michigan, and I had a 2-bedroom all the way up until March of this year. I'm back on the West Coast. I had court in April, and I know that was fact-finding. Finally, took my kid in September, and I finally had fact-finding in April, but that was because everybody on my team quit or got fired or reassigned. And nobody wanted it to, they told me I wasn't allowed to fight, and I told them to eat shit, because I'm fighting for my kid. This is crap. I did everything right, and they still took my son. It doesn't make sense. Like, it didn't make sense. I did everything right. Look at my story. Look at the newspaper. Do your research. It's all there. I will take this to the Supreme Court if I have to. So, that's another thing is, I did. Last Friday, there was a situation where my son was supposed to come visit, and then this was the first at-home visit, and then the second visit, he was just going to come home. The judge ordered him to come home. And, I just lost my train of thought. I should not read the comments, because it trips me up with my ADHD already. Oh, okay, so there's a situation he was supposed to come, and they messed it up to where he got down here, and then he had to leave. But I still got to see my girls, which was cool. But for an hour and a half, my 13-year-old told me what kind of piece of crap I was, and how much I'm a bad mom, and I did this and this and this. Look at my videos. My kids are not abused or neglected. My kids got everything I never had. I have given up so much for my children in 10 years of doing everything. 10 years of hair follicles and UAs. Just to let you know, yes, I did admit to one dirty hair follicle and one dirty UA in Detroit in the last 4 years, because they wouldn't give me resources out there. The courts were held in contempt, another thing that's on public video, because they refused to give me resources. The judge said, you can't make her come back. Guess what? They took my son and made me come back. But the thing with that is now, I'm not in Washington. I might work in Chehalis for a minute. I have a motorhome now. It's livable, and it's doable, and that's what I have for now, but at least it's a home, and I'm not on the streets, because I've learned so much in the time that I've been homeless. I've been homeless before, but never like that. I've always made a way until I didn't want to make a way here. Last summer, I didn't want to fucking make a way here. I was trying to make a way home. Now it's a different mindset. Now I'm clean and sober. Now I know who the fuck I am, and I know this isn't, win or lose, my son, win or lose. If I have to give him up to stand up for everybody else, I will, okay? I will always make the best decisions. When I called CPS on myself 4 years ago, you know how hard that was after winning 2 cases? The mental fuck of it? Oh, man, but you know what? My daughter's not going to be another statistic. I'm not going to be another statistic, and neither is my son. I will get him in a better opportunity, and then, because the reality of it, if I'm going to fight corruption, I'm going to fight the bullshit, then my son shouldn't be exposed to that anyways. I'm sorry about the video, but I was trying to protect my son, and they kept coming, because they have badges, they're there to protect and serve. I called the police for harassment and abuse against me and my son, and 20 minutes later they told me I was a liability, and the next day the police put a protection order against me and my son. Not CPS. CPS was legally able to do it after the 3 days, 72-hour hold. Let me tell you something. I talked to an old judge, and he used to be a family law lawyer, and he told me that Vancouver, Washington is the only city and state in the whole freaking country, where if a police suspects you're on drugs, it don't matter, okay? Pot is considered a drug in Vancouver, Washington, okay? If they suspect you're on drugs, they can come take your kid without a court order, without paperwork, without anything. They can just come take your kid, okay? And, I don't want to be here. I'm not there anymore, actually. I am back in Oregon. High fives. I decided I'm going to make it work. I got a different mindset. Instead of here temporarily while I get my son and then go back, I'm just going to reestablish. But I do feel safe. The second I got past Portland, I felt safe. I have had interactions with police down here and help, and stabilization center, and there's a lot of help, and they don't treat you like Vancouver, Washington does. Or actually a lot of people in Washington. Chehalis wasn't so bad. They have compassion. But it's a long process. And what I learned about the homeless is Oregon is like the only state it's not illegal to be homeless in. Do your research. This all just changed. And every city and every state and every county rewrites the laws and the Constitution. And in Vancouver, Washington, no governance is allowed. Unincorporated. Look it up. I've emailed thousands of people, including Human Rights Commission, like senators. Nobody can be involved. If I want help with Vancouver, Washington, it has to come from Vancouver, Washington, and people are scared. People are scared to write letters. People are scared to stand up. And I know why. Because the second I stood up for me and my son was taken. We were ripped apart. He's been in an institution. Luckily, I'm not in an institution. Thank God. The only reason I'm not is because I stuck my phone in there. I needed music while I was going through all this crap. And it was a voluntary commitment ordered by the police without being allowed to leave, because I did ask, and Columbia River Mental Health was there with me, and everybody was there with me, and it just didn't make sense. But they told me, and then when they see my phone, they kicked me out, told me I was paranoid, gave me some drugs I'd never been on, and sent me on my way. And luckily, Outsiders In helped. Stop talking and answer questions. Did you get your son back? No, I didn't get my son back. The judge ordered him home in April. And now Washington State, and now I'm waiting. And actually, we go to court on Tuesday for them to take my visits away because of something that happened with my daughters, which is, they told me what kind of piece of crap I was for an hour and a half, and then they left. Yeah. But I don't have my son back, but he was ordered ICPC, Interstate Compact, for Michigan, or any place I wanted to reestablish. 2 months ago, and it still hasn't happened. And they took my son. I don't know. They took my son because I was a liability, and because I made a video of me screaming at police. That's why they took my son. I was in a mental institution. I was on drugs. I was making videos, like, all at the same time. That's why I took him. Oh, and I was homeless, and even though I was 3,000 miles away from where I lived. Why did they actually take him? I don't know. I don't know why they took him. I really don't know why my son was taken, and the rest of the team doesn't either. I really don't. How is my son? My son is doing better. He is miserable. He is sad. He is depressed. I've seen him one time in the last year. You just said all the reasons your son was taken. Yeah, those are all the apparent reasons. All at the same time. So, sorry here. I have previous cases where I loved the social workers. They did great. My first case was justified. I had 3 live-in nannies for my 3 children, and I wasn't a mom. I lived in pain all the time. And, I didn't take care of them. I did neglect them. But after that, it was 3 months later, my case was closed, and boom, they took them again. Who's this she? I'm on mental health drugs. I'm in therapy. That's great. Not knowing why they took him, you see no fault in your lifestyle. Yes, I do. Actually, I did. And no, I didn't. Not in Detroit, no. I had a 2-bedroom home. My son was a straight A student with constant attendance and awards. No, but in Vancouver, Washington, yeah, I do understand my lifestyle, and I do understand and take accountability for the things that I've done in the past. I left Vancouver, Washington, to Detroit to change my life, and I changed my life. How does that make me a bad person? How does that make me able to take my son when I'm on vacation? Yeah, me and my son do talk. Me and my son talk a lot. And, what happened? Psych meds are not for everybody. Not everybody needs psych meds, and not everybody, just admit it. Yes, allergies. I'm in a new state, new location, new humidity, new everything. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and place for medications. There's a time and a place for therapy. It's not something that you have to have all the time and do all the time. I wasn't in therapy, but I was on medications when I was in Detroit because my life was good. And out here, it was just too much. I kept running back to toxic people. Says, how much clean time you... Oh, right here. The biggest, hardest thing in my life is admitting my sobriety, 12/24/22. I've been clean since December 24th. Right after I left Washington, I ain't touched it since. And that was off of methamphetamines. I do smoke pot still. That's versus taking medications, pain pills that I don't want to take, for multiple pain disorders that I do have and super anxiety. But let me tell you, this was the hardest thing I ever made, was this coat in my sobriety because of judgment. I really hate judgment, and I really am afraid of what people are going to say about me, and I always try to strive to do good. And anyways, in Detroit, I had learned a lot more confidence. But look, here's your the back of it says, and this is all things I've had to learn in the last year. The back says that without a higher thinking or a belief in a higher being, you will continue to stress without faith, experience trauma without understanding, create coping skills without guidance. You only become courageous when you change your life while facing the fear. You are worth it. I see you. I hear you. I care. Operation Can You See Us? That was, that's my memory of the biggest crisis of my life. How stupid I looked and how wrong I did and what I did and the way I handled it. So, and I think she's ignoring the comments. No, there's a lot of comments. Where's your son? My sister. My son's in an institution. They did take my son. Yeah, my son got taken. They arrested me. And, they took my son to an institution, and then they took me to an institution. No, my videos are, I have video visits with my son. Do you need the institution spammed? No, they're already in investigation in 3 different states, the institution is. On what grounds did they take my son? Mental instability and homelessness. I made the conscious decision not to go back to my house because there were squatters in it, and decided to get a camper, and that made me homeless. Nope, no dirty UA. And yes, they can take your kid for homelessness. They can take your kid for any reason. The police in Vancouver, Washington can take your child for any reason they seem fit. Look up the Constitution in Vancouver, Washington. No family, no friends, nobody. Everybody gave up on me years ago. And my children. The only person that's ever been fighting for them for the last 10 years constantly is me. It's a mindfuck. And to know that I fought all this time and lose, it sucks. He has some stability. Yes, he does have some stability. He now feels a little safer with some people and whatnot, but he's doing really well in the institution now. And I did take him to another state. I took him to Michigan. I didn't want to come back. You live in Arkansas. Well, see, I did my research, and I found out that the laws in Detroit, Michigan, and I know that, we are safe there, and it's also freedom of speech, and there's a lot of stuff. Isaiah is not safe at all. He hasn't been, not mentally or physically safe since they took him. I do admit that we needed change in our lives, but not like this. As Isaiah is gone and I sit here, we talk weekly, about how he needs to continue to work on him and his behaviors, and I need to continue to work on me and my behaviors. And that way, when we get back together, that this is not going to happen again. We know how to stand up properly, but I've also been learning how to deal with it the proper way and handle myself under high stressful situations, which I'm not good at. So sorry about my smoking. I tried to make it. I've been real scared to get on here and talk to you guys. They took my son in Vancouver. Oh, I was in actually Lysander, Washington. What happened after the video? Okay, so the video is actually 13 minutes long. If you go to both my Facebooks, they spammed me. They asked the judge to take away my freedom of speech, and when the judge said no, because I was posting stuff on Facebook, they went and spammed every post for the last 5 years, and they had my videos disabled. It was a 13-minute video, and after what you've seen, the police assaulted me, got in my face, arrested me, and there's another video of the police having my son in a chokehold. So, that's what happened after the video. And then I went to an institution up near Canada, and then he went to an institution in Spokane. And I will be able to get him back. Yes, he was court-ordered for ICPC and to start the process of him coming home 2 months ago, and now they're not allowing it. They're just not. We go to court on Tuesday, so, keep your head level for your son. Yeah, I know. Let me tell you, I tried to make it work in Washington, but, ever since my son was returned home, it's just been bullshit after bullshit, and I feel very triggered. So now I moved back to Oregon, where I feel safe. I have support. There's more resources accessible, and it's also another state's perspective versus leaving it all up to Washington State. Actually, specifically Vancouver, Washington. I am clean. I've been doing UA since I got clean. And, no, I'm not in Portland. I'm down in Bend, Oregon. No, yeah, there's nothing wrong with Washington. It's you. Yeah, you're funny. No matter where you are, no matter where you go, that's where you are. That's a big thing I learned. And let me tell you, in Detroit, I'm freaking amazing. And I'm a great mom. And this would never happen. So, you don't have to think whatever, but if you look into the deep laws of Washington State, specifically Vancouver, you're going to see how corrupt it is. It's all public information, but the thing is, you have to do extensive research. 5 years of school in college on the dean's list for 5 years taught me a lot of things. So, no, people can be rude. I hope they be rude. It helps me to learn to deal with criticism, because I have a hard time with people treating me some type of way or acting like I'm some type of person when I'm not. So I have called news stations, and I do have a newspaper with the Columbian in Vancouver, Washington, because I was getting ready to start a business to help homeless in addiction. At that point, I wasn't homeless or addicted, and I can't say I was addicted. I did do drugs, though. Do you have your son? Nope, not yet. He was ordered back 2 months ago, and I'm still waiting on the state to get their shit together. My son he's okay. He's alive, but he's going to need some therapy for a long time and some understanding, and I fear that when he comes home, that it's going to be really hard to have a babysitter. I mean, I don't want one, but, at 10 years old, that's 8 years of just me and him. As a mom, sometimes you need a break. And, the fear I have for me and him, it's going to be a long journey. Do you get to talk to him? Yeah, I talk to him twice a week, through Zoom. Foster care, no, he's in an institution. They send him straight to an institution. They put him in a triggering situation and put him in the hospital under a fake name and pumped him full of Valium and sent him to an institution. 6 hours away from everything he's ever known. His behavior can be bad. If he feels unsafe, if I feel unsafe, I back away or I leave. If he feels unsafe, he attacks people or he does anything in his power for you to get to call mom. And so I can't say that he's the best kid. But like the hissing in the video is because he, instead of the other part of the video didn't show the big huge pole that he picked up and tried to attack the police with. And I told him to put it down and just stop. The only person that child usually listens to is me. He's got some behavioral issues and he's got some mental health issues. And he's been taught by CPS for the last 10 years, his whole life, that he just has to act up and they'll call mom. Even CPS did that. So, you'd say you're looking at the problem? Yeah, it's okay. I can be a problem. I've been a problem, the black sheep. I've been the issue for a long time. And once I disconnect myself from all those negative people, I become awesome, and I become great, and I become a person of worth and of love and worthy of everything that you have. So, go ahead and look in the mirror, sir. If you're looking at the problem. We all have to look sometime. So, let's see. I lost him. I've been losing him for 10 years because of mental health. But if you look at the paperwork that's posted about the incentive-based program for taking children, they work in control groups. There's 3 control groups, and they work in sets of 10 years, okay? Now, mind you, my son was just born when they first got involved with my life. My son just turned 10 right before they took him. And control groups are almost like when they give you a placebo for mental health drugs to see if it's actually working. And it's a 10-year program. And I think I'm part of it. So, yeah. This happened in Washington State, specifically Vancouver, unincorporated. Look it up and see what the definition of that is. You'll see that it is no governance. So, thank you. I am going to go yes or no. I'm going to make the right decisions. And me and my children knew when we left from Michigan 4 years ago, we all had a plan. We do have an active lawsuit against the state of Washington for kidnapping and corruption that started 3 months before they were taken the 3rd time. So, we knew this was going to come. It's just terrible. I keep doing everything right and nothing is happening. I knew. She said, I knew you would say Washington State. Well, you know, it's unfortunate. I lived there my whole life and didn't know none of this until all this happened. They said I was a liability. That's beyond what I am. What is Clandestine Science Project? At Spanky. What is the Clandestine Science Project? Ooh, I gotta write that down. Screenshot. Yep, I do my research, guys. Okay. Safe place. Ooh, no, not safe place. Safe place. Now, listen, Safe Park is not a safe place. I was in bitter crisis when I was yelling at the police, obviously. I was already in fear. Safe place is not a safe place. They were they were stealing the homeless' stuff. There's videos of security and the man named Dale that was harassing and abusing me and my son. There's videos of all that. It is not a safe place, and it is ran by city officials for city reasons. There are many CPS whistleblowers. Yeah, so the problem with that is you're only protected for being a whistleblower is if you work for the company. It's not for people like me. People like me are called, what the police said, a liability. See, the city has liability. You have 24 hours to leave. That's what they said after I called the police for harassment against a man who I thought was a city employee for the homeless. And I live in Bend right now. I just relocated from Detroit, Michigan to Bend, Oregon. Because I'm not going to be 3,000 miles away from my son. I don't get to see him in person as it is. But as long as I'm not in Washington, I have a chance to get my son. He was court-ordered home, but they're not going to give him to me. And they haven't. It's unfortunate. I wish I could show you the stuff that we're going to court for on Tuesday, because it's sick. I have proof of the department lying, saying my son's out of control, yet the house is saying that he's not. He's doing wonderful. So, it's unfortunate. Vancouver, Washington, it has needed a reform for a long time. There are a lot of petitions for the Department of Justice, for mental health discrimination, and homelessness discrimination. It's unfortunate. different cities, different laws, different states, different laws, bylaws, all that stuff. Do your research about Vancouver, Washington. Unfortunately, it's not what you think it is, and if you have children, I'd get the fuck out. Specifically, city, Vancouver, unincorporated Vancouver. So, yes, the judge ordered him back to me, ICPC, 3 days after court, which was about, April, 3rd, and, my home was approved April 17th, and here we sit. Yeah. I don't know. Now they're trying to take away my visits, and they're saying my son is out of control. And the house says he's not, but CPS said he is. Do I work? No, I don't. I hustle. I'm a business lady. I like to help people. I do help people with Kayla 101. It's a self-help for fuck-ups that I'm gonna start. Because a lot of people don't know self-help. I don't need help. Sometimes financially, yeah, I will throw my Cash App out there. It's ForLife32. Sometimes I do need help. Right now, I need help with my storage unit, but other than that, no. I take other people's garbage and I sell it. And I also get disability for having something called autonomic dysfunction of the nervous system. It's a stress-related disorder. That my nerves in my brain are so severely damaged that they say no signals are the wrong signals to the rest of my body. And fight or flight, my body's always in flight mode. So it takes a lot to stay and fight, especially when I have agoraphobia as well, which means I'm afraid of people, places, and things. And if there's a high stressful situation and I don't have a safe spot or a safe person to help bring me back, it's hard. I had a hard life, and that's not an excuse, but I am learning at 35 years old how to deal with that, and how to overcome that. Not just deal with it, but overcome it. So, part-time job. So I had a part-time job just a couple months ago doing DoorDash, but I don't have a vehicle right now. Now that it broke down as soon as I got to Washington, and it helped at least keep my mind off of the things, because there's literally nothing I can do. I just have to wait for the department. I'm doing it all, and I've been doing it all for 10 years consecutively. There's literally nothing I can do, except for just keep doing what I've been doing. So, and, I want a part-time job. I want to do DoorDash. It's a perfect job for me, with my mental instability. Not instability, my mental disabilities. It was unstable a year ago. But I'm doing really good now. And, I have a different mindset. And, but I just need to get a vehicle again, which is in the making. It won't take me long now that I have a place to park and a place to live and reestablishing myself, versus staying temporarily. So it really changes the mindset on how you're going to do things. So, and also I've had to learn a lot. Walmart is actually, from the city I'm at. I'm not actually in Bend, on the outskirts, but it's about 45 minutes from me. So, anyways, it took a lot to do this. My anxiety is doing a lot better. I'm having a hard time reading the messages. I've never done a live like this before on... So this is new to me on my Facebook. I'm used to people watching but not talking. But, and I'm also learning how to deal with the criticism, so I do appreciate that, and thank you for telling me to read the questions and stuff. I guess I'll go live again soon. I've wanted for a long time to tell my story since I was like 13, because people do watch, and people do change, and I do help people. And if anything, awareness brings change, and people can think what they want to think, but at the end of the day, I'm not the only one going through this, but I want people to know that you are not alone in the situation you're going through. It is real, and I see you, and I care, and I want to make change, and just know that you are loved, and you are wanted, and, you know, for those that are not in that dark spot, or have not yet to experience that dark spot, just know how much just a simple hello to the person walking down the street could make them feel alive again. So, consider dropping the energy drinks. I know, coffee, all that. My meds are still stabilizing. I got new meds that are doing amazing, but the anxiety, still waiting for my Klonopin. So, what happened to your son? I just saw your video. My son was taken by the police, basically, because I was a liability, and because I was homeless, and because I was in a mental institution, and yeah. But my story begins way beyond that. I just didn't know people would actually care or even hate on it. Like, I know people hate and their hands are tied and nobody cares, but a lot of people do. But the biggest thing is awareness brings change. This